"Do not stop digging," Lily Morgan whispered into the rain, though the sound beneath the earth had already gone quiet. Midnight pressed down over the royal forest, turning the trees into black pillars beneath a sky without stars. Cold rain slid from Lily's hair into her eyes, mixed with mud on her cheeks, and soaked through the thin gray cloak she had worn since leaving the Moon Festival. Her hands were buried wrist-deep in the wet ground. Every time she pulled away another handful of heavy soil, the earth collapsed back toward the narrow hollow beneath her. She dug faster. Her fingers ached. Her breath came out in white clouds. But she could not leave. Not after hearing that faint, frightened tapping from below. It had begun less than an hour earlier, just after she found a silver bell caught in the roots of an old oak tree. The bell was no bigger than her thumb, polished bright despite the rain, with the royal crest engraved on its side, a crown beneath a crescent moon. Lily had picked it up because it was beautiful. Then the wind carried a sound through the trees. At first, she thought it was only branches knocking together. But it came again. 3 soft taps. A pause. Then 3 more. She followed the sound past the old stone path, past the place where the forest became thick and unfamiliar, until she found a patch of ground that did not belong. The leaves had been swept aside. The soil was loose and freshly turned. A small shoe lay half-hidden near the edge of the mound. Lily had frozen when she saw it. Her mind had told her to run, to find a guard, to call for help. But there had been no lights in the forest, no cottages, no road close enough to hear her voice. There was only the rain, the dark, and the faint sound beneath the ground. So she had fallen to her knees and started digging. She did not know who was below her. She only knew that someone was waiting. "I am here," Lily said, pressing both palms into the mud. "Keep listening for me." Her voice shook, but she made it gentle. In the village where she had grown up, Lily had learned that frightened people did not always need answers first. Sometimes they only needed to know they were not alone. She scraped away another layer of soil and felt something firm beneath her fingertips. Not stone, cloth. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She cleared the dirt carefully, uncovering the edge of a small blue coat. A tiny hand lay curled near it, pale against the dark earth. Lily stopped breathing for one terrible second. Then the little fingers moved. Relief rushed through her so quickly it made her dizzy. "That is it," she whispered, leaning closer. "You are doing so well. Stay with me." She pulled off her cloak and spread it over the exposed hand to keep the rain away, then dug again, slower now, careful not to let the loose dirt fall back into the hollow. Her nails were broken and packed with mud. Her sleeves clung to her arms. She did not notice. All she could see was the child beneath the ground. Somewhere beyond the trees, horses began to move through the wet leaves. Hooves struck the earth in a fast, uneven rhythm. Lily looked up, her face pale beneath the rain. A lantern appeared between the branches. Then another. Voices called through the forest, urgent and sharp. Lily bent over the small hand again. The child's fingers closed weakly around one of hers. And beneath the mud on the child's collar, the silver thread of a royal crest caught the lantern light. The first rider reached the clearing just as Lily pulled enough earth away to see the child's face. He was small, perhaps 8 years old, with dark hair plastered to his forehead and rain trembling on his lashes. His eyes were closed, but his fingers still held hers. Lily leaned close, keeping her voice low and steady. "You are out in the open now," she told him. "The rain is cold, but I have you. Just keep breathing with me." The rider swung down from his horse, lantern held high. He wore the black and silver uniform of the Royal Guard. Behind him, more lights appeared through the trees, cutting thin gold paths across the rain. "Step away from the boy," the guard ordered. Lily looked up, startled. "He is trapped. Please, help me clear the dirt." The guard did not move. His eyes went from Lily's mud-covered hands to the half-open hollow in the ground, then to the crest stitched into the child's blue collar. His face changed. "That is Prince Eli," he said. The name seemed to freeze the clearing. Lily had heard it before, though only in passing. Prince Eli Crow, the only son of the Alpha King. The child who appeared in paintings beside his father at winter ceremonies, always wearing a blue coat and a silver bell at his throat. Lily looked down at the bell lying near the oak roots. "I did not know," she said. "I found him here." "Move away," the guard said again, louder this time. Lily's heart began to pound, but she did not release the boy's hand. He needs to be warm. He is soaked through. Another guard stepped forward with a thick blanket. We will take care of him. Lily wanted to trust them. They were trained. They had horses and supplies and people behind them. But the child's fingers tightened around hers when the men approached, and a weak sound caught in his throat. Lily bent closer. It is all right, she whispered. They are here to help. The guard with the blanket crouched beside her at last. Together, they cleared the remaining loose soil from around the child's shoulders and lifted him carefully into the blanket. Lily supported his head while the guard wrapped the wool around him. Prince Eli's eyes fluttered open for one brief moment. They were gray, the same stormy shade as the sky above them. He looked at Lily as if he had been searching for her. The song, he murmured. Lily leaned closer. What song? His lips barely moved. You sang it. Lily went still. She had not realized she was humming. The lullaby had come to her without thought while she dug, an old melody her mother used to sing when thunder shook the windows of their cottage. Before Lily could ask anything else, the prince's eyes closed again. The guards carried him toward the waiting horses. Lily rose slowly from the mud, her knees unsteady. Her cloak was ruined, her hands raw from the cold earth, and every person in the clearing was watching her now. The first guard stepped closer. You will come with us. Lily stared at him. To the palace? The king will want answers. The words made her stomach drop. She had been rejected only hours ago, sent away from the moon festival with nothing but her cloak and the quiet shame of being unwanted. Now she was being taken to the palace because she had found the Alpha King's son in the forest. She looked toward the child wrapped in blue wool, then at the black horses waiting beneath the rain. I did not do this, she said. The guard's face remained unreadable. Then you have nothing to fear. Lily almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. People always said that when they held the power to decide whether fear was necessary. A deep horn sounded somewhere beyond the trees. Every guard straightened. The horses shifted nervously in the mud. Then a new figure appeared between the dark trunks, walking without hurry through the rain. He wore a long black coat, and the lantern light caught in his silver-gray eyes. Lily knew who he was before anyone spoke. King Nathaniel Crow had come for his son. King Nathaniel Crow stopped at the edge of the clearing, and every guard lowered his head. Rain slid from the dark collar of his coat, but he seemed untouched by the cold. He was taller than Lily expected, broad-shouldered and still, with dark hair damp against his forehead and silver-gray eyes fixed on the blue blanket in the arms of the nearest guard. For one long second, he did not look at Lily at all. He crossed the muddy ground without speaking and reached for his son. The guard placed Prince Eli carefully in his arms. Nathaniel held the boy close, one hand supporting the back of his small head, the other pulling the blanket higher around his shoulders. The king's face did not change, but Lily saw the way his breath caught when Eli stirred. Father, the boy whispered. Nathaniel bent his head. I am here. His voice was low enough that it almost disappeared beneath the rain. You are safe now. Lily stood a few steps away, soaked through and shivering, unsure whether she was allowed to move. The guards had formed a quiet line between her and the king. She could see the silver bell hanging from Eli's coat, the same bell she had found beneath the oak. It had been tied back around his neck. Nathaniel looked at it, then lifted his eyes toward Lily. The clearing seemed to narrow around that single glance. His gaze traveled over her mud-streaked face, her torn cloak, her hands red from the cold earth. He did not look away quickly, and Lily felt suddenly exposed in a way she had not felt when the guards questioned her. What is your name? He asked. Lily swallowed. Lily Morgan. Were you alone when you found him? Yes. Did you see anyone else? Lily thought of the forest path, the broken branches, the strange lullaby carried through the rain. She shook her head. No, Your Majesty. I only found the bell first. Then I heard him. Nathaniel's eyes sharpened slightly. Heard him. He was tapping under the ground. Lily looked toward the disturbed earth. I thought it was a branch at first, but it was too steady. The king looked at the guards. Search the area again. Every path. Every mark in the soil. I want to know who brought him here. The captain bowed and moved away with the others. Lily watched them disappear among the trees, lanterns swinging through the rain. Nathaniel looked down at his son, then back at her. You dug him out. It was not a question. Lily lowered her eyes to her hands. Mud filled the creases of her palms. Her nails were cracked, and the cold had made her fingers stiff. There was no one else. Nathaniel's expression shifted, so slightly she might have imagined it. Something in his face softened, then closed again. You should have called for help. Lily looked up. The word surprised her. I tried to listen for someone. There was no one close enough. You could have been hurt. Lily did not know why that made her chest tighten. No one had said those words to her in years. She gave a small shake of her head. He was a child. Nathaniel held her gaze. Rain drummed on the leaves above them. Prince Eli stirred against his father's chest, then opened his eyes halfway. He looked past Nathaniel's shoulder toward Lily. She found me, he whispered. The king went still. Eli's small hand reached out from the blanket. Lily stepped forward before she could think better of it. Nathaniel did not stop her. She knelt in the mud beside them and let Eli curl his fingers around hers. You were very brave, she told him. The boy blinked slowly. The man said you would not hear me. Lily's breath caught. Nathaniel's eyes lifted to hers, suddenly sharp and cold. What man? He asked. Eli's grip tightened around Lily's finger. His voice was barely more than a breath. The man with the green ring. The words seemed too small to carry the weight they placed on the clearing. The man with the green ring. Nathaniel's gaze dropped to his son, then moved toward the dark forest beyond the lanterns. No one spoke for several seconds. Even the guards who had been searching the trees slowed, as if they had felt the change in the air. Lily remained kneeling in the mud beside the king, Eli's fingers still curled around hers. The boy was pale with cold and exhaustion, but his eyes were open now, watching his father with the solemn focus of a child trying to remember something important. Can you tell me what the ring looked like? Nathaniel asked. His voice was calm, but Lily heard the strain beneath it. Eli swallowed. Green stone, like the glass in the palace windows. He lifted one small hand from the blanket and traced a circle in the air. He wore it here. He pointed to the middle finger of his right hand. He said he was your friend. Nathaniel's face became still. Lily had never seen anyone go so quiet. It was not the silence of confusion. It was the silence of someone recognizing a danger he had hoped did not exist. The captain returned from the trees, rain running from the brim of his hat. Your Majesty, we found tracks leading east, he said. 2 horses, possibly 3. They disappear near the old river crossing. Nathaniel nodded once. Send riders to every gate. No one leaves the royal grounds without being stopped. The captain bowed and turned away. Lily looked at the king. Do you know who he meant? Nathaniel did not answer immediately. His eyes stayed on Eli's face. There are only a few people in the palace who wear green signet rings, he said at last. One of them is Marcus Vale. Lily knew the name only from village rumors. Marcus Vale was the king's royal advisor, a man praised in public speeches for keeping order in the northern packs. Her stepfather had once called him the smartest man in the kingdom, but something in Nathaniel's voice made the title sound like a warning. Eli shifted in his father's arms. He told me you were waiting for me in the forest, the boy said. He said you had a surprise. Nathaniel closed his eyes for a brief moment. When he opened them, he looked at Lily. Did he say anything else? Lily shook her head. Only that someone told him I would not hear him. Eli looked at her again. But you did. The simple words settled into the cold night. Lily did not know what to say. She had spent the evening being told she was unwanted, that her quiet voice and unshifted wolf made her less than the people around her. Yet this child had been alone in the dark, and somehow he believed she had heard him when no one else had. Nathaniel stood carefully, keeping Eli wrapped against his chest. We are going to the palace, he said. You are coming with us. Lily rose too, though her legs felt weak. Am I under guard? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Nathaniel looked at her hands. His coat was dry at the shoulders, but wet at the hem, and he removed it without ceremony. Lily stepped back, but he held it out to her rather than placing it around her. You are not under guard, he said. You are a witness. And you saved my son. Lily hesitated before taking the coat. It was heavy, warm, and smelled faintly of cedar and rain. She wrapped it around herself, suddenly aware of how cold she had been. Nathaniel turned toward the horses. Captain, bring a carriage. The prince needs warmth. Then he looked back at Lily, his expression guarded but no longer distant. And Miss Morgan, he said, until we know who did this, you will be safer inside the palace walls. Behind them, the disturbed earth lay dark beneath the rain. Ahead, the royal road disappeared into the trees. Lily held the king's coat closed at her throat and followed him toward the waiting lights, unaware that the palace was already preparing to decide whether she had arrived as a rescuer or a threat. The carriage ride to Blackwood Palace was quiet except for the rain striking the roof in soft, steady waves. Lily sat across from King Nathaniel with his coat wrapped around her shoulders, its warmth slowly returning feeling to her hands. Prince Eli lay on a cushioned bench beside his father, bundled in dry blankets, while a palace healer checked his pulse and spoke to him in a calm, low voice. Lily watched the healer tuck another blanket around the boy's feet. Eli's silver bell rested on the table beside him, polished clean now, but Lily could still see the mud caught in the tiny grooves of the royal crest. Nathaniel had not taken his eyes off his son for more than a few seconds at a time. When Eli stirred, the king leaned closer immediately. When the carriage rolled over a rough patch in the road, Nathaniel steadied the blanket with one hand. Lily had expected a king to look distant in a moment like this. Instead, he looked like a father trying to memorize every breath his child took. The palace appeared through the rain just before dawn, rising above the trees with dark towers and long rows of windows glowing gold against the gray sky. The gates opened before the carriage reached them. Guards stood in silent lines beneath the stone archway, their uniforms black and silver, their faces drawn tight with worry. Lily felt their eyes settle on her when she stepped down from the carriage. She was still wearing the king's coat. Her dress was streaked with mud. Her hair clung damply to her cheeks. She suddenly wished she could disappear into the shadows beneath the gate. A woman in a navy blue dress hurried down the palace steps with a physician at her side. Her dark hair was pinned neatly at the back of her head, but her expression broke the moment she saw Eli. "My prince," she breathed. Nathaniel carried the boy toward her. "He is cold, but he is awake." The woman reached for Eli with shaking hands, then stopped when he turned his face toward Lily. "Lily," he whispered. The woman looked at her, startled. Nathaniel followed his son's gaze. "This is Lily Morgan," he said. "She found him in the forest." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Then you have our gratitude." Lily did not know what to do with gratitude from someone dressed in silk and standing beneath palace lights. She lowered her head. "I only heard him." "You heard him when no one else did," the woman said. "That matters." Before Lily could respond, a man's voice came from the top of the stairs. "How fortunate." The words were smooth, but they carried no warmth. Lily looked up. A tall man stood beneath the palace archway, dressed in a dark green coat with a green stone ring on his right hand. The lantern light flashed across it as he descended one step at a time. "Marcus Vale." Lily felt the air leave her lungs. Nathaniel's posture changed beside her. The king did not move in front of Lily, but the space around him seemed to tighten. Marcus stopped a few feet away and looked at Eli with carefully arranged concern. "Your Majesty," he said, "we have searched the palace since the prince disappeared. We feared the worst." Eli's eyes opened wider. His small hand gripped the edge of his blanket. "It was you," he whispered. Marcus's smile did not change, but something behind it did. "The prince is confused," he said gently. "He has been through a frightening night." Lily looked at the green ring, then at Nathaniel. Her heart beat so hard she could feel it in her ears. "He said the man had a ring like that," she said. Marcus turned his eyes toward her. They were pale and calm, but Lily felt the warning inside them. "And who are you?" he asked. Nathaniel answered before she could. "The woman who saved my son." Marcus glanced at the king's coat around Lily's shoulders, then back to her mud-streaked hands. "A remarkable coincidence," he said. "A rejected Omega alone in the royal forest, arriving at exactly the right moment." The words were polite. The meaning was not. Around them, the guards shifted. Lily's face grew hot. She had spent her life being blamed for things she could not control. But when she looked at Eli, she remembered the small hand gripping hers beneath the earth. "I did not know who he was," she said. Her voice trembled, but she kept it clear. "I only knew he needed help." Nathaniel's eyes remained on Marcus. "Take the prince to the healer's rooms," he ordered. Then he looked at Lily. "You will be given a room and dry clothes." Marcus's gaze sharpened. "Your Majesty, perhaps the girl should be questioned first." Nathaniel turned toward him. "She will be questioned when she is warm, fed, and treated with the respect she earned." Marcus's green ring caught the light again as his hand curled at his side. Lily saw it, and for the first time, She understood that being inside the palace walls did not mean the danger had been left behind in the forest. The room they gave Lily was on the second floor of the East Wing, far from the crowded healers' rooms and the worried voices gathering near Prince Eli. It had a small fireplace, a bed covered in cream quilts, and a window overlooking the palace gardens, where rainwater glimmered on the hedges beneath the first pale light of morning. Lily stood just inside the door for several moments, unsure whether she was allowed to touch anything. The room was larger than the cottage she had shared with her stepfather. A bowl of warm water waited on a table beside folded towels, and a plain blue dress had been laid neatly across a chair. She stared at it until her eyes blurred. At the Moon Festival, only hours earlier, people had watched her walk away without offering a coat or a place to sleep. Now someone she did not know had left her clean clothes and warm water. The kindness felt almost as frightening as the forest had. A soft knock sounded at the door. Lily turned. The woman in the navy blue dress entered, carrying a tray with soup, bread, and a steaming cup of tea. Up close, she looked tired, but her eyes were steady. "I am Lady Clara," she said. "Eli's aunt." Lily stepped aside. "How is he?" Lady Clara placed the tray on the table. "The healer says he will recover. He is exhausted and cold, but he is safe." Her voice caught slightly on the last word. "Because of you." Lily looked down at her hands. The mud had dried in the lines of her skin, and her nails were still rough from digging. "I did not do anything special." Lady Clara's expression softened. "You went into the dark when everyone else was looking in the wrong direction. That is special." Before Lily could answer, a servant appeared in the doorway. "Miss Morgan, the king requests your presence in the small dining room." Lily's stomach tightened. She had expected questions, but she had hoped for a little more time to understand where she was. Lady Clara noticed the change in her face. "You do not have to be afraid of Nathaniel," she said gently. "He has a difficult way of carrying worry, but he is not your enemy." Lily changed into the blue dress, which fit as if someone had measured her in secret. When she reached the dining room, King Nathaniel stood beside the window with a cup of coffee untouched in his hand. He had changed into a dry black shirt and dark trousers, but he still looked as though he had not slept. A plate of eggs, toast, and fruit waited at the table. Lily paused near the door. "You asked for me?" Nathaniel turned. "I wanted to make sure you had what you needed." Lily almost asked why, but the question felt too large. Instead, she sat at the far end of the table. Nathaniel did not take the chair across from her. He chose one several seats away. "Eli asked for you," he said. "The healer told him he needs rest, but he keeps asking whether you are still here." Lily felt a small ache in her chest. "May I see him?" Nathaniel studied her for a moment. "Yes, after you eat." She picked up a piece of toast, though she was not hungry. "Will Marcus Vale be there?" Nathaniel's face hardened. "No," the single word carried a promise. Lily looked toward the rain-bright gardens. "He knows I saw the ring. He knows Eli recognized him." Nathaniel set down his cup. "That makes you both important witnesses." Lily's fingers tightened around the toast. "Important can be dangerous." Nathaniel looked at her then, truly looked at her. "It can be," he said, "which is why I will not let anyone decide your place here without you." The words were quiet, but they changed the room. Lily had never heard a powerful man speak about her place as if it belonged to her. Before she could respond, the door opened without a knock. A young guard stood there, pale and breathless. "Your Majesty," he said. The North Gate guards found a message tied beneath a carriage wheel. "It is addressed to Miss Morgan." Nathaniel's eyes narrowed. "Bring it here." The guard placed a folded piece of paper on the table. There was no seal, only Lily's name, written in dark ink. She stared at it, unable to move. Nathaniel did not reach for it. "Do you want to read it?" he asked. Lily swallowed. "Yes." She opened the paper with unsteady fingers. There was only one line inside. "Leave the palace before the moon rises, or the boy will disappear again." For a moment, Lily could not feel the warmth of the room or the toast still resting in her hand. The words on the paper seemed to pull every sound away from her. "Leave the palace before the moon rises, or the boy will disappear again." Her name sat above the threat in careful dark ink, as if someone had taken their time writing it. Nathaniel did not ask to see the note. He watched Lily's face instead, his silver-gray eyes narrowing when he saw the color drain from her cheeks. "Read it to me," he said quietly. Lily wanted to say no. She wanted to fold the paper until the words disappeared and pretend she had never opened it. But Eli's small hand in the forest came back to her, cold and curled around her finger. She placed the note on the table between them. "It says I should leave before the moon rises," she whispered. "It says Eli will disappear again if I do not." Nathaniel went very still. The coffee beside him had stopped steaming. Outside, a pale strip of sunlight reached across the wet garden path, but it did nothing to warm the room. "No one leaves the palace alone," he said. "Not you. Not Eli." Lily looked up. "If I stay, they might come for him. If you leave, they will believe they can control you." His voice was calm, but the tension in his jaw told her how hard he was holding himself together. "This is meant to frighten you into making their work easier." Lily folded her hands in her lap. "It is working." Nathaniel's expression softened. He moved one chair closer, but stopped far enough away that she still had room to breathe. "Fear does not mean you are weak," he said. "It means you understand what matters." Lily looked down at the note. All her life, people had called her too sensitive whenever she was afraid, too quiet whenever she hesitated, too much trouble whenever she asked to be treated fairly. Nathaniel spoke as if fear could be something other than shame. A knock sounded at the door. Lady Clara entered quickly, her face drawn with concern. "The healer says Eli is awake," she said. "He is asking for Lily." Lily stood before she could think. "I should see him." Nathaniel looked at the note, then toward the hallway. "You will not go alone." The healer's rooms were warmer than the rest of the palace. A fire burned low in the grate, and the windows were covered with heavy curtains to keep out the morning chill. Eli sat propped against white pillows, his dark hair still damp at the ends. When he saw Lily, his face brightened. "You came back," he said. Lily crossed to the bedside and sat in the chair beside him. "Of course I did." Eli reached beneath his blanket and pulled out the silver bell. "I remembered something," he said. Nathaniel and Lady Clara stood quietly near the door. Lily leaned closer. "What did you remember?" Eli turned the bell in his small hands. "Marcus said there was a place in the forest where the moon could hear wishes. He told me not to tell Father because it was a surprise." His voice became smaller. "Then he said I had to be very quiet." Lily's heart tightened, but she kept her face gentle. "You did the right thing by remembering." Eli looked at her with serious gray eyes. "He was mad when I sang." Lily froze. "What song?" The boy hummed 3 soft notes, then another 3. It was the same lullaby Lily had sung without thinking while she dug through the rain. Lady Clara pressed a hand to her mouth. Nathaniel's gaze moved from Eli to Lily. "Where did you learn that?" he asked. Lily's fingers closed around the edge of her chair. "My mother sang it to me." The room fell quiet. Then Eli looked at Lily's wrist, where her sleeve had slipped back as she reached for the bell. A faint crescent-shaped mark glimmered beneath the skin, pale as moonlight. "That is the same mark," he whispered. Nathaniel stepped closer, his expression changing from concern to something deeper and more uncertain. Before anyone could speak, the palace bells began to ring. Once, twice, then again. Not for noon, not for prayer, but for the closing of the gates. And beyond the windows, the sky was already darkening toward evening. The bells continued to ring across Blackwood Palace, their deep notes rolling through the healer's rooms and out over the rain-dark gardens. Lily stood beside Eli's bed with one hand resting near the silver bell he held against his blanket. The faint crescent mark on her wrist had stopped glowing, but she could still feel a warmth beneath her skin, as if the old lullaby had awakened something that had been waiting for years. Nathaniel watched her in silence. His face was unreadable, yet his eyes had changed. They no longer held only concern for his son or suspicion toward the danger inside his palace. There was recognition there, careful and unsettled. Lady Clara crossed to the curtains and pulled them aside. Outside, guards moved quickly along the paths below, closing the iron gates and lighting lanterns one by one. The sky had turned the color of slate. "The gates are closed," she said. "No one enters or leaves without Nathaniel's order." Eli looked toward the window. "Is Marcus going to come back?" Lily sat beside him again. "You are safe here," she said. The words felt fragile, but she said them anyway. Eli's fingers tightened around the bell. "He knows secret doors." Nathaniel's attention sharpened. "What secret doors?" The boy looked down at the blanket. "He showed me one near the old chapel. He said it was for important people." Lady Clara's face went pale. Nathaniel moved to the door and called for the captain of the guard. When the captain arrived, Nathaniel gave orders in a low, controlled voice. "Seal the old chapel. Search every corridor beneath it. No one goes alone. The captain nodded and left at once. Lily watched Nathaniel turn back toward Eli. He looked composed, but his hands were clenched at his sides. There is something you have not told us, Lily said softly. Nathaniel met her eyes. For a moment, he seemed to consider denying it. Then he walked to the window, where the last light of day pressed against the glass. The mark on your wrist belongs to the Moonlight Healers, he said. They were an Omega line sworn to protect children of the crown. Their gift was not force. It was finding what others could not hear. Lily touched the crescent beneath her sleeve. My mother never told me. She may not have been able to, Nathaniel said. The line was driven into hiding after my father's reign. Some people believe the healers made the royal family too difficult to control. The words settled heavily in the room. Lily thought of her mother's lullaby, of the silver comb hidden at the bottom of an old drawer, of the way her stepfather had always told her that her mother had been foolish to believe kindness could change anything. Before she could ask more, a sharp knock sounded at the door. A guard entered, breathless from running. Your Majesty, we found something in the old chapel. Nathaniel's gaze hardened. What? The guard held out a folded piece of green cloth. It was torn from a formal coat, and a gold thread ran along its edge. This was caught in the hidden passage, he said. The passage leads toward the lower halls, but the door at the far end has been barred from inside. Lily felt Eli's hand reach for hers. She took it gently. Nathaniel looked at the green cloth, then at his son, then at Lily. Marcus is still inside the palace, he said. The lamps in the room flickered as thunder rolled beyond the walls. Eli leaned closer to Lily, his voice small. The moon song can show us where he is. Lily looked down at the silver bell. It gave a faint, clear chime in his hand, though no one had moved it. And from somewhere deep beneath the palace, the same 3 soft notes of her mother's lullaby answered back. The answering notes faded beneath the palace floor, leaving the healer's room so quiet that Lily could hear the rain beginning again against the windows. 3 soft notes. A pause. Then 3 more. They did not sound like music anymore. They sounded like someone calling from a place where no one else could reach. Eli sat very still beneath his blankets, his small hand wrapped around Lily's fingers. The silver bell rested in his lap, giving off a faint glow that pulsed with each distant note. Nathaniel looked toward the door. You are staying here, he told his son. Eli shook his head. I know the way. No, the king's voice was firm, but not harsh. You have been through enough tonight. Eli's lower lip trembled, and Lily saw him glance toward the dark hallway as though he expected Marcus to appear at any moment. She leaned closer. You do not have to go anywhere, she said. You can tell us what you remember. The boy looked at the bell. The passage starts behind the chapel wall. Marcus showed me a picture of the moon, and when he pressed the star beneath it, the wall opened. Nathaniel called for the captain again. Bring 2 guards to the chapel. Search for a moon mural and a star. The captain bowed, but Lily's attention stayed on the bell. The sound beneath the floor had changed. It was moving, not closer exactly, but circling through the old stone as if it were searching for a path. Without thinking, Lily began to hum the lullaby. Her voice was soft at first. The melody felt familiar in a way that reached beyond memory, like a door opening inside her chest. The bell answered with a clear chime. A pale thread of light slipped from its silver edge and stretched toward the hallway. Lady Clara took a step back. Nathaniel's gaze moved from the light to Lily's face. What are you doing? He asked. Lily stopped humming. The light disappeared. I do not know. Her wrist warmed beneath her sleeve. It feels like the song is listening. Nathaniel was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at the captain. Follow the signal. But no one goes into the lower halls until I arrive. The captain left at once. Lily looked down at Eli. You should rest now. Eli shook his head again, more firmly this time. Marcus said the song was only for people with moon marks. He said if I learned it, I could open the door for him. Lily's breath caught. Did he make you sing it? Eli nodded. He said it would make father listen to him. Nathaniel's face tightened, but he lowered himself beside the bed until he was level with his son. You did nothing wrong, he said. You trusted someone who should have protected you. Eli looked at him, searching his face. Are you mad? Nathaniel's expression softened. Never at you. Lily watched them, and something inside her shifted. The king's strength was not in the way the guards obeyed him or in the weight of his title. It was in the gentleness he gave his frightened child when no one had asked him to. A sudden knock sounded at the door. The captain returned, rainwater still on his shoulders. "Your Majesty, we found the mural," he said. "The hidden wall is open." Nathaniel stood. "Where does it lead?" "To the lower halls. There is a sound coming from below." Lily's bell chimed again, sharper this time. The pale light reappeared, stretching past the captain and down the corridor. Nathaniel looked at Lily. "You are not coming." Lily's heart began to race. The thought of the dark passage made every instinct in her say yes, stay behind. But the light from the bell had chosen her, and somewhere below the palace, Marcus was using a song that belonged to her mother. "I am not going because I want to be brave," Lily said. Her voice trembled, but she held Nathaniel's gaze. "I am going because I think I can help you find him." Nathaniel looked at her for a long moment. Then he took a lantern from the table and held it out to her. "You stay beside me," he said. Lily accepted it. The warm metal pressed into her palm. Together, they stepped into the hallway, following the thin line of moonlit silver toward the old chapel, while behind them Eli whispered the first 3 notes of the song into the quiet room. The old chapel stood at the far end of the west corridor, sealed off from the rest of the palace by a pair of narrow oak doors. Lily had passed it earlier without noticing it, but now the carved moon above the doorway seemed to watch her as she approached. Nathaniel walked beside her with the lantern held low, its warm glow moving across the stone floor. 2 guards followed several steps behind, careful not to crowd them. The pale thread of light from Eli's silver bell had faded before they reached the chapel, but Lily could still feel the lullaby beneath her skin, a quiet pull leading her forward. Inside, the chapel smelled of rain-damp stone and old candle wax. Rows of empty benches faced a faded mural painted across the far wall. It showed a silver moon rising over a forest, with tiny stars scattered around its edge. Lily stepped closer. Her breath caught when she saw the crescent mark painted near the moon's center. It was the same shape that glimmered on her wrist. "The star," Nathaniel said quietly. One of the guards lifted his lantern. Beneath the mural, a single gold star had been set into the stone, no larger than a coin. Lily reached for it, then stopped. Eli said Marcus pressed it. Nathaniel looked at her hand. "You do not have to." Lily thought of Eli beneath the earth, of his small voice asking whether she had come back. She pressed the star. The wall shifted with a deep, hidden sound. Cold air moved through the chapel as a narrow opening appeared beside the mural. Beyond it, stone steps descended into darkness. The guards moved forward, but Nathaniel lifted one hand. "I lead," he said. Then he looked at Lily. "Stay behind me." Lily nodded, holding the lantern closer to her chest. The passage below was barely wide enough for 2 people to walk side by side. Water dripped from the ceiling. Their footsteps echoed against the walls, mixing with the distant 3-note melody that seemed to come from everywhere at once. As they descended, Lily noticed small marks carved into the stone. Crescents, bells, lines of writing worn smooth by time. "These halls were built for the Moonlight Healers," Nathaniel said. "They used them to move safely through the palace when the crown needed them." Lily ran her fingertips near one of the carved crescents without touching it. "My mother knew about this place." "Perhaps," Nathaniel said. "Or perhaps she hoped you would never need to." The passage opened into a round chamber with a shallow pool at its center. Moonlight from somewhere above fell through a crack in the ceiling, turning the water silver. On the far side stood Marcus Vale. His dark green coat was damp at the hem, and the green stone ring on his hand gleamed in the lantern light. He was not alone. A wooden table stood beside him, covered with old maps and sealed papers. At the center lay a small silver music box, its lid open. The lullaby drifted from it in soft, repeating notes. Marcus looked up when they entered. "Your Majesty," he said, as though he had been expecting them. "I was beginning to think the old song had failed." Nathaniel's voice was low. "Step away from the table." Marcus smiled faintly. "You always did mistake obedience for loyalty." Lily felt Nathaniel shift slightly in front of her, not blocking her view, but placing himself between her and Marcus. Marcus's eyes moved to Lily's wrist. "There she is," he said. "The last Moonlight Healer." Lily's stomach tightened. "Why did you take Eli?" Marcus's smile faded. "I needed the king to remember what fear feels like. A ruler who has lost his wife, his peace, and nearly his son will sign almost anything." Nathaniel's hand tightened around the lantern. "You used my child to force my hand." I used the weakness you have always refused to admit, Marcus replied. He lifted one of the sealed papers from the table. The Northern Pacts want order. The Council wants a king they can direct. And you have become too sentimental to understand the difference. Lily looked at the maps, then at the music box. The song led us here, she said. Marcus's gaze returned to her. No, the song belongs to your bloodline. It led you because I needed you to open what is beneath this room. He pointed toward the silver pool. The water began to ripple though no wind touched it. From beneath the surface, a pale crescent of light slowly rose. Nathaniel looked at Lily, his expression changing. Marcus had not only wanted the king afraid. He had wanted Lily in the palace from the beginning. The pale crescent rose higher from the silver pool until it hovered just above the water, no larger than Lily's open hand. Its light moved across the chamber walls, revealing carvings she had not seen before. Wolves stood beside women with crescent marks on their wrists. Children reached toward bells beneath a moonlit sky. At the center of every carving was the same image, a healer placing her palm over a crown. Lily stared at it, her breath shallow. What is it? She asked. Marcus stepped closer to the table, keeping one hand near the open music box. The Moonwell, he said, a source of old royal power. It responds only to the Moonlight Healers. Nathaniel's voice hardened. It was sealed for a reason. It was hidden because your family feared what it could reveal, Marcus replied. The well does not make kings stronger. It shows whether they deserve the crown. Lily looked at Nathaniel. He stood beside her, silent and tense, his silver-gray eyes fixed on the glowing water. What do you want from me? She asked. Marcus smiled as though he had been waiting for that question. Touch the water. Open the well. Then the council will have proof that the crown requires a healer to remain stable. You will become a royal asset, and Nathaniel will finally understand that the kingdom cannot be governed by sentiment. Lily's fingers curled around the lantern handle. She thought of the note left beneath the carriage wheel. Leave the palace before the moon rises. She thought of Eli's frightened face and the way Marcus had spoken of him like a piece in a game. You planned all of this, she said. You used Eli to bring the king to the edge, and you used me to open this place. Marcus's eyes remained calm. I created an opportunity. You chose to dig. Lily felt the words strike deep because part of them was true. She had chosen to stop. She had chosen to listen. But that did not make Marcus's plan hers. Nathaniel stepped forward, his voice low. You will not ask anything more of her. Marcus's expression sharpened. And what will you do, your majesty? Lock this room again and return to a throne that your council no longer respects. Nathaniel did not answer. The silence stretched across the chamber. Lily saw the question in his face, the terrible weight of a kingdom that had been placed on his shoulders long before he was ready. Marcus saw it too. The Northern Pacts are already waiting, Marcus continued. They want stronger borders, more soldiers, more control. They will follow whoever promises certainty. Give them the Moonwell, and they will follow you. Lily looked at the glowing crescent over the pool. It was beautiful, but it did not feel like power. It felt like a memory. Her mother's voice during storms. A warm hand smoothing her hair. A song that said she was safe before she knew what safety meant. She set the lantern down on the stone floor. Nathaniel turned toward her. Lily, you do not have to do this. His voice was steady, but his eyes held something deeper than command. He was giving her a choice even now, when everything around them was trying to take it away. Lily stepped toward the pool. Marcus's breath caught. Nathaniel did not move to stop her. The silver water reflected her face, pale and tired, with a streak of dried mud still near her jaw. She saw the rejected Omega from the Moon Festival. She saw the girl who had been told she was too quiet to matter. Then she saw Eli's small hand closing around hers beneath the earth. Lily lifted her wrist over the water. The crescent mark began to glow. I will touch it, she said. Marcus smiled. Good. Lily looked at him. But not for you. She placed her palm on the silver surface. The chamber filled with light, not blinding or harsh, but warm as sunrise. The music box fell silent. The carvings along the walls shimmered, and words appeared beneath the painted wolves in letters of pale gold. Nathaniel read them first. His face changed. The crown is protected, he said slowly, not by the healer who obeys it, but by the healer who is free to walk away. Marcus's smile disappeared. The Moonwell had not given him control. It had given Lily the one thing he could not command, the right to choose. The golden words remained on the chamber walls long after the light from the Moonwell had softened. Lily stood with her palm resting above the silver water, her wrists still warm beneath the crescent mark. Across the pool, Marcus Vale stared at the glowing inscription as though it had betrayed him. The guards behind Nathaniel shifted quietly, but no one moved toward Marcus. The truth had changed the room before anyone had spoken it aloud. A healer could not protect a crown by being owned. A kingdom could not be saved by turning one frightened woman into another kind of prisoner. Nathaniel looked at Lily first. Not at the well, not at the ancient carvings. At her. You heard it, he said softly. Lily nodded. Her throat felt tight. I did. Marcus recovered before the silence could settle. He reached for the papers on the table, gathering them with quick, careful hands. Old words carved by people who feared responsibility, he said. They do not change what the kingdom needs. Nathaniel's gaze turned toward him. The kingdom needs leaders who do not threaten children to gain power. Marcus's mouth tightened. You have no proof that I threatened anyone. Lily looked at the music box beside the maps. Its lid had closed on its own, but the silver bell carved into its top still caught the Moonwell's light. Eli told us you brought him to the forest, she said. Her voice was quiet, but it did not shake. He recognized your ring. And you sent a message telling me to leave, because you thought fear would make me obey you. Marcus looked at her with the same pale, measured eyes he had used at the palace steps. A frightened child remembers stories. A rejected Omega sees danger in every shadow. The words were meant to make her smaller. Lily felt that old instinct rise in her, the one that told her to lower her head and let someone else decide what was true. Then Nathaniel stepped beside her, not in front of her. His hand remained at his side. He did not take over her voice. He only stood where she could see him. Lily lifted her chin. I did see danger, she said. I saw it in the forest. I saw it in the message. And I see it now in a man who thinks people are useful only when they are afraid. Marcus's expression finally cracked. The calmness left his face for one brief second. Nathaniel turned to the captain. Take the music box, the maps, and every document from this chamber. Marcus Vale will remain under guard until the council reviews the evidence. The captain stepped forward. Marcus did not resist, but his green ring flashed as he gathered his hands together. You think this ends with me? He said to Nathaniel. The council will not forgive weakness. Nathaniel's eyes were steady. Then they can learn the difference between weakness and mercy. As the guards led Marcus toward the passage, the Moonwell's light followed him only as far as the doorway. Then it faded, leaving the chamber warmer and quieter than before. Lily looked down at the water. Her reflection trembled on its surface. For years, she had thought being rejected meant there was something missing inside her. Now she understood that people had feared the part of her they could not control. Nathaniel approached the pool and stopped a respectful distance away. The Moonwell will be sealed again, he said. Not because I want to hide the truth. Because no one should come here looking for a way to use you. Lily looked at him. What happens when the council asks me to stay? Nathaniel's face softened. Then you decide. The answer was so simple that it made her eyes sting. Above them, the hidden passages carried the distant sound of palace bells. Not alarm bells this time. Morning bells. Lily had not realized the night was ending. Nathaniel glanced toward the stairs. Eli will be awake soon, he said. He will want to know you are safe. Lily smiled faintly. I want to know he is safe too. Together, they walked out of the chamber, leaving the Moonwell behind them. The silver water became still again, but the warmth of its promise stayed with Lily. She was not a key. She was not a cure. She was not a debt waiting to be paid. And when the first morning light reached the chapel steps, Lily Morgan walked beside the Alpha King not because anyone had ordered her to, but because she had chosen the path herself. By the time Lily and Nathaniel reached the healer's rooms, dawn had spread across the palace windows in soft bands of gold. The storm had passed, leaving the gardens bright with rain and the air smelling clean through the open hall. Lady Clara stood beside Eli's bed, speaking quietly with the healer. When the boy saw Lily in the doorway, his face lit with a smile so immediate that she felt something inside her loosen. You came back, he said. Lily crossed the room and sat beside him. I told you I would. Eli held out the silver bell. It no longer glowed, but it looked different in the morning light. The little crescent engraved beneath the royal crest seemed brighter, as if it had been polished by the night itself. Did you find the song? He asked. Lily looked at Nathaniel, then back at Eli. We found where it came from. Eli studied her face. Was Marcus there? Nathaniel came to the other side of the bed and rested one hand on the blanket near his son's feet. He said, and he will not be able to frighten anyone in this palace again. Eli was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at Lily's wrist, where the crescent mark showed beneath her sleeve. Does that mean you are magic? Lily smiled softly. I think it means I can hear things that need to be heard. Eli considered this very seriously. Then you heard me. Yes, Lily said. I did. Outside the room, footsteps gathered in the hallway. The council had arrived. Lily could hear their low voices, their careful pauses, the sound of official papers being unfolded. For the first time, the sound did not make her want to hide. Nathaniel looked toward the door, then back at her. You do not have to face them today, he said. You have done enough. Lily looked at Eli, safe beneath his blankets. She thought of the forest, the rain, the fresh earth beneath her hands. She thought of the moon festival and the moment she had believed being rejected meant she had nowhere left to go. Then she looked at the king. I want to go, she said. The council chamber was full when Lily entered beside Nathaniel. Morning light fell across the long oak table, turning the polished surface gold. Lord Harrow and the other council members rose when the king took his place, but their eyes moved quickly to Lily. She wore the simple blue dress from the East Wing, her hair still damp at the ends, and there was a faint crescent mark at her wrist. Nathaniel did not place her behind him. He pulled out a chair beside his own and waited until she chose to sit. The room went silent. Nathaniel spoke first. Marcus Vale has been removed from his position. Evidence found beneath the old chapel confirms that he used hidden palace passages, false messages, and fear to manipulate this court. Murmurs moved around the table. Lord Harrow looked down at the papers before him. And the Moonwell? He asked. Nathaniel's gaze remained steady. It remained sealed. Its message was clear. No healer may be bound to the crown. Lily felt every eye turn toward her. She could have lowered her head. She could have let Nathaniel speak for her. Instead, she placed both hands on the table. I was sent away from my pack because they thought I had nothing to offer, she said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried. Then I was brought here because someone believed they could use what I did not yet understand about myself. I will not belong to a pack, a council, or a crown simply because they decide I should. The silence that followed was deep and complete. Nathaniel looked at her with something like pride. Lord Harrow slowly lifted his eyes. Then what do you choose, Miss Morgan? Lily thought of Eli's bell, her mother's song, and the first moment Nathaniel had asked instead of ordered. She looked toward the windows, where the palace gates stood open beneath a clear sky. I choose to stay for now, she said. Not as a servant, not as a secret. I will help protect the children who need someone to hear them. And when I choose to leave, I will leave freely. Nathaniel stood. Then Blackwood Palace will honor that choice. Later, as sunlight warmed the palace gardens, Lily walked with Eli along the stone path, while Nathaniel followed a few steps behind. Eli held her hand on one side and his father's on the other. Near the old fountain, he looked up at Lily with a hopeful smile. Will you teach me the moon song? Lily glanced at Nathaniel. The king's silver-gray eyes softened. Only if she wants to, he said. Lily smiled and began to hum the first 3 notes. The bell at Eli's throat answered with a clear, bright chime. And somewhere beyond the palace walls, beneath the wide morning sky, a child who had once been alone in the dark would never again doubt that someone could hear him.